Now, it looks like 2012 could be the year of debt. Those who already haven't borrowed could do so in the next few months, according to the research by the Post Office in the UK, which says 12 million people could be running up debts on their credit cards to fund day-to-day living costs. Stagnant salaries, increasing inflation and redundancy have already taken their toll in the UK. The housing charity Shelter says almost 1 million people have turned to high-cost payday loans to meet mortgage and rent payments in the past year, while 44,000 debt relief orders which is a low form of bankruptcy in the UK, have been granted in the 2 years since their launch in 2009. Mohammed Mamdani is from the Al-Mizan Charitable Trust, which is a Muslim grant giver and grant funder and giver which supports disadvantaged people from deprived communities across the UK, regardless of their faith or cultural background. And he joins us now from our central London studio. Mohammed, do these figures surprise you at all?
Unfortunately not, as in these figures indicate the reality of how difficult it is for so many people to survive on a day-to-day basis. As in, we hear countless stories every week of families who are restricted to just one meal a day or who cannot afford warm clothes during the winter months.
I mean, these figures are depressing, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
And are you experiencing an increased demand for funds raised by yourselves?
Well, in the last month, we have received a 50% increase in the number of applications that are coming through to us, and we're very much finding ourselves in a difficult position. And for the very first time, we're having to reject many worthy applications, quite simply because our funds don't extend that far.
So really, you're having to really play. You're going to have to you apply the criteria very strictly then.
We are. It is heart-wrenching for us, and certainly when we aren't able to fund a particular application, we do, provide other agencies and access to other funders who may be better suited to actually help people.
Now, are you seeing different types of people coming forward and asking for your help?
Well, we continue to see a broad range of people in very different circumstances, indicating that this kind of, need is completely indiscriminate, as in many families, regardless of their background and their economic position in the past, are feeling the pinch. But many of our applications, though, do come from single parents and mothers who are fleeing domestic violence, also the disabled and ex-offenders, and in particular now the elderly who are living alone and have no family to turn to for support.
I mean, what's it like on the? I mean, do you go out and meet these people, sort of, as part of the application process?
As part of the application process, we do telephone interviews, and occasionally we do visits where they're appropriate and where they're necessary, depending on how the application is formulated. But the stories are very, very, very somber, and it is, it's very, very moving to see how difficult it is for so many people. And
I mean, your organisation supports the disadvantaged people and deprived communities across the UK, regardless of faith or cultural background. But as a Muslim organisation, do you apply the principles and ethics rooted in the faith?
Well, alongside grants, we also offer loans, which are interest-free loans, very much in keeping with Muslim teaching around, charging interest, particularly exorbitant rates of interest on loans. We, as a trust, obviously, the vast majority of our staff are from a Muslim background, and the vast majority of our donors are also from the British Muslim community. And we very much kind of follow the example of the Prophet Muhammad, who was very passionate about advocating charity and care and concern for the needy and the deprived in local communities, regardless of their faith or their background.
Well, it's one of the 5 pillars of Islam, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yes.
In terms of Islamic finance, do you think that the West could learn a few lessons in applying Islamic finance practices in say banking and the money system?
Well, I think it's very sad that it's actually the most deprived who are actually facing these crazy rates of interest when they're in such desperate need. And I think that there certainly is a role for Islamic finance, or at least the very basic principles of actually kind of limiting that in some way or form, so that we're not actually exploiting those who are needy.
And do you see the situation improving?
Well, there aren't many great signs out there at this moment in time, but it's always important to be positive, and always know that as long as we stay together as a community, and we look out for those around us. So it's not just about, us charitable trusts intervening, but also for us as communities and families to be there to support individuals who find themselves hard up.
And just finally, do you think that the UK government should be supporting more, trying to alleviate these problems? I mean, I know times are hard, but do you think there's a role for government here as well?
Well, without doubt, as a government, the government has a responsibility towards its citizens. These are difficult times. It's impossible to say whether we can afford economically to be able to support individuals. But ultimately, we do have this responsibility, whether it's government or whether it's us as individuals.
Well, Mohammed Mamdani from the Al-Mizan Charitable Trust, thank you very much indeed for joining us on BBC Guernsey this morning. Have a good day. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.